Message to Iran. National Security Advisor John Bolton announcing the U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier and bomber task force to the Middle East in response to, quote, a number of troubling and escalatory indications and warnings on the part of Tehran. Joining us now, Peter Brookes from the Heritage Foundation. He's also a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. Peter, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
Listen, does this action indicate, on behalf of the U.S., that the threat from Iran is more substantial than normal? What should we read into this?
Well, Iran is a serious threat to international security. We all know that from their involvement in Syria to Yemen, their ballistic missiles, their support of terrorism. We just saw these actions in the Gaza Strip, Hezbollah. You know all of that. But
right.
It seems that there was some intelligence that we received from a foreign intelligence agency, perhaps the Israelis, that indicated an imminent threat to U.S. forces or U.S. interests in that part of the world. And I think that is what is spurring this reaction, the movement of forces as well as a carrier strike group.
Is this also part of the, the waivers to sanctions on Iranian oil running out? Is one thing recognizing the Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization? Is that what's prompted this activity from Iran, do you think?
Well, it's not sure that this was something that was put into motion, but certainly you're right. Those are great reasons from Iran's perspective as to why they're angry with the United States. We put the IRGC on the terrorism list, the maximum pressure campaign. As a business network, you know how much damage this is having to the Iranian economy. Yeah. The rial has fallen, what, 60%, cost them billions of dollars in oil revenue. The removal of additional waivers on oil exports is also going to hurt them. So, yeah, I think that they may be spoiling for some sort of fight.
And by putting a big aircraft carrier out there and more, if you like, military resources, does Iran get the message? Do they generally back down?
Well, hopefully. We always talk about an aircraft carrier being 90,000 tons of diplomacy and deterrence, and it sure will send a very strong signal to the Iranians. And it's good that we know. It also shows them that we have intelligence that can keep us on top of their activities, which is probably alarming to them as well.
All right, Peter, while you're there, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo striking, well, an optimistic tone on talks with North Korea, despite a missile launcher over the weekend. That's the first, by the way, since November 2017. Take a quick listen.
Negotiating a good resolution with North Korea to get them to denuclearize. We've known it would be a long path. We've known it wouldn't be straightforward, but I have extended our negotiating hand to the North Koreans since Hanoi. We've heard back from them.
All right, so we've had these missile testing, Peter. We've also had Kim Jong-un visiting Vladimir Putin in Russia. Yeah. Is he kind of poking the president a little bit and saying, remember me? Is he trying to poke the bear a little bit?
Yeah, Kim will not be ignored. And I think that's part of it. His relationship with Russia, it allows Russia to introduce itself into the nuclear negotiations. And, of course, you know how relations are with Russia right now. I think it's important to point out that this was not a long-range missile test.
Right.
The last long-range missile test we have going back to 2017, this was a shorter-range missile as far as we know so far. So it's not in the same category as like an ICBM that could threaten the United States. Of course, it certainly does threaten our allies in South Korea and Japan and our brave U.S. forces that are in the region. But, yes, North Korea will do things, make provocations to try to move things to their advantage. So it's important that dialogue continues. It's important that we don't overreact to some of these North Korean provocations because we've seen years and years of them, and it seems to be their method of operation.
About 30 seconds, Peter. You know this as well as anyone. Can the president be successful in getting North Korea to do what we would like them to do?
It's very heavy lift. I think Mike Pompeo had it right. It's going to be a long process. I think I would like to see some additional working groups set up, at the working level, lower level officials that can support the tremendous efforts that the president has made at senior levels and before we have a third summit.
Peter Brookes from the Heritage Foundation. Great stuff as always. Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Israel and Gaza.